gamer friends, I'm Danielle.
And I'm Josiah.
And we are ready to roll.
We're going to be talking today about game components, the ones that we like, the ones we dislike, and just in general, what components are available.
So first off, we wanted to take games that were non-Kickstarter components because you can always find all kinds of upgrades in Kickstarters and you can spend hundreds of dollars on upgrades. And so we wanted to take like the basic retail games and see what components we really enjoyed.
So there are lots and lots of different components. So we're going to break down the ones that we have that are most common to us. There are boards and or maps and then player boards. Mm-hmm. With boards or maps, some games come with double-sided maps.
Yeah. One thing that we talked about was like, that's what Lost Ruins of Arnak did well, because one, it had great art on both sides of the board, but you play one side of the board, maybe you get used to that side of the board, and then you can flip it and you're playing the same game, but the track that's on is completely different. And so you're having to do different things, get different resources, maybe acquire different types of cards to try and go up that other track. That was a really good example, I thought, of like a dual board where you're flipping it over and playing that side.
Yeah, I really appreciate that because it adds to the replayability of the game. It's more content, a different way to play the game. And so I really enjoy that. We have several games that have those. And so I really like that.
One thing that we love about certain player boards, game designers or I guess publishers maybe, who decide to put those dual layered player boards. So they have like 2 cardboard layers and then they have cutouts for where you put your pieces.
Yeah.
So when it gets like inevitably knocked, or I'm reaching across to do something and I kind of knock my pieces, they don't go everywhere and I have to try and remember exactly where I had everything.
Yeah. We just got a game, Slay the Spire, and it has that dual layer player board where there's little square cutouts for your cubes to sit in. I really like that because one thing, I'm very anal about things being in their right place. And when it's just kind of free floating on top of a board, it slides and moves around, and it really drives me crazy. So I really appreciate double layered player board.
Another one that we had, Gnome Hollow, which ended up being a kind of a meh game for us, but I love the components that they had for this game.
Yeah.
And one of the things that they did was it's a magnetic board and all of the pieces are magnetic. And there is something so satisfying about like just putting your little pieces on and they don't get moved at all.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, this is so great. I could turn it upside down and it wouldn't move. Yeah. I don't know. I loved it.
It is one of my favorite component things that I've ever come across is the magnetically binding player board and components. And I love it so much.
I wonder too if other like game designs are going to start incorporating that more because it is so awesome to play with.
As long as it's not too cost inhibiting, then I think they should for sure. Another player board type that we have really enjoyed is neoprene mats. So we have a few games that have this. The main one that we're going to highlight today is Challengers. In Challengers, there is a neoprene battle mat, and it's where you place your cards and you're across the table from somebody and you're playing cards, they play cards, and you're battling each other. And I love the quality feel of neoprene mats. Too Many Bones does this as well.
Too Many Bones does that, and they do the dual layered like player. Yes. Well, it's actually a neoprene, but your dice fit into it.
Yeah, it has holes for your dice to fit in.
Yes.
But it feels quality. It feels like high quality, and I love that.
Well, the thing too with neoprene mats is that like you always hate it because on a regular table like this one, you can't pick up the cards very well because you don't have nails.
Yep.
And so you're always struggling to pick up cards. And when something has a neoprene mat, that's why we have a game mat that we play on.
Right.
But then you can actually pick up the cards. And so it's nice. So like a game like Challengers, which is you're laying down cards
all the time.
It's really nice to have that neoprene mat where you can just like scoop them up.
And you can have all kinds of art on neoprene mats, and in Challengers, there's a really cool art on each different battle mat.
Yes.
And it's really cool. I really love neoprene mats.
The next component we wanted to talk about was dice, because a lot of games come with dice, but they are not all created equal.
That's true.
So we talked about like how some games come with wooden dice, and they are so lightweight that when you roll the dice, they just kind of go everywhere, or it's just they're harder to, I don't know, contain or
I mean, I would say for sure that's the case. It doesn't feel as good in your hand to be. It just feels cheap. It feels light, and like you said, they kind of go everywhere.
Like Taverns of Tiefenthal, we thought they're a game that has those wooden dice in the base retail version of the game, and so they kind of just go all over the place. You have to rein it in all the time. So I wish they had different dice for that. And in fact, like when we play it next, I think we'll probably pull in different dice to use.
And also in Taverns of Tiefenthal, the dice, they have rounded corners even. And so it makes it even more easy to roll everywhere because it doesn't stop as quickly. And if it were a heavier, better component, then it wouldn't be a problem.
Right.
But because it's a lightweight wood, it rolls, and it's hard to contain in an area where you need to roll dice.
Right. I know. I kind of wish that games would quit doing that.
Yeah.
I mean, plastic dice are pretty cheap, and they're not like, we call it sustainable, like environmentally sustainable or whatever. But I so prefer the way that they feel and the way that they roll and things like that. We love Taverns of Tiefenthal, just don't like the dice.
And as a D&D player, I am a bit of a dice goblin, so I have tons of dice, and anywhere from the plastic dice all the way up to metal dice. And so we have a lot of choices. And
that's true.
and we definitely should bring in some of my dice next time we play Taverns.
I love the feel of metal dice when you roll them.
It's so satisfying.
Yeah, it is. And those, you have some like, I mean, they're really heavy and they just feel really good when you roll them.
Definitely. Another game that we play with dice that is Dice Throne, and they're plastic dice. They feel good. They're not super expensive dice or anything like that, but it's high quality plastic dice. That's really nice to have. And then Dice Miner was another one.
Well, the reason too is because they're custom.
Yes.
So it's like super fun because in every character for Dice Throne has its own
art style.
Yes. And so, and it has different things on the rolls. 3 sides might have one design, and then 2 more of the sides have a different design, and then they may have one design left for the last side. And so they're all kinds of different.
Yeah.
And then Dice Miner is similar to that. They have different types of dice that you collect as you go through the game.
And they're different colored and different designs and things like that. So it's really nice.
So that's one of our favorite things, board games, when they do dice really well. That's really good. Okay, next we have Meeples. So there can be like generic Meeples that you can find in just about any worker placement game. And those are fine. I actually have no problems with generic Meeples. But there is something when they have like really specific Meeples.
Custom Meeples.
That is just super fun in games. I was trying to think of what games might have custom Meeples. Flamecraft is a great one.
Oh yeah, with the dragon Meeples.
Yes, they're so cute. I love those. They're brightly colored, and there's different ones, and they're so cute.
Yeah, Root is another one.
Yes.
That has It has, the cats and the mice and the birds. And the raccoon. And so it's super cool when there are custom Meeples. I love it. It just brings a flair and a flavor to the game.
Yes.
Versus just a generic Meeple, which again is fine.
Yeah. Totally.
But it's another level.
Yes.
When you bring in a custom Meeple.
And it's not the base game, but like Ark Nova, when you get the expansion, the Marine expansion, it actually comes with custom Meeples for each color. And they're different animals, and they're so cute. I really like the penguins.
Yeah. There are some also that come with stickers, right? That you can put on them.
You can put stickers on them. They're hard because you have to, you have to be really precise with them. But it does bring a little bit of character to them, and so I like that idea.
Yeah, it's more immersive. The next component we'll talk about are this is our catch-all category.
Yes.
And it's just other pieces, whether it's cardboard pieces or other wooden pieces, acrylic tiles, all kinds of things like that. There are some games that we thought about that have just like some circular tokens that are cardboard tokens. Mm-hmm. One was Comic Hunters.
Yeah, because this is an example of it done really poorly.
Yeah, super cheap.
Hunters is honestly one of the games that we've purchased that has the lowest quality components of any game we've ever purchased.
Yeah, we've talked about it before, but I think they spent all their money on IP, on intellectual property for Marvel, and they didn't have any money left over for components.
Right. Their tokens they don't even feel like cardboard. They feel like cardstock paper.
Yeah.
Like it's thick paper. So even when you're like trying to punch it out, it was hard not to tear the pieces.
Yeah.
And then you have these just like paper pieces that you're playing with. And so of course, that's not going to last if you play with it at all. And the cards, they really need to be sleeved. Like literally this is the worst component game that we have.
And it really detracted from the game for us. And the game we actually like. I think we think it's a pretty good game.
It is good.
But the component quality really brings it down for us. It's a big deal. Like components, for me especially, like I'm someone who loves the expensive stuff, right? Yes. I like the Kickstarter components.
He's got expensive taste.
I have expensive taste. And so I like the upgraded minis and, all the upgraded components and stuff like that. That is a bigger deal for me. Like it helps me get into the game more. But the reverse is also true. If components are really bad, it will pull the game way down for me.
Yeah, so that was really sad. But also games that have decent cardboard. We were talking about Quacks of Quedlinburg.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with the cardboard tokens that they have in there. But one thing that we found is that a lot of people are purchasing these like acrylic cases almost for your pieces, because when you start to like put them in the bag and you're shuffling them around and pulling them out, if you play that game a lot, they start to break down fairly quickly.
Because you handle them a lot.
You do. So it's not just like, oh, I'm grabbing, this is our gold or whatever that we're using.
Right.
It is something that you're going to be messing with a whole lot. And so it breaks it down a little bit. And so they probably should have, in my opinion, gone for maybe a little bit more expensive piece.
Yeah.
Maybe if they were even like little wooden tokens or something, they might have lasted a little bit longer. Those cases that you buy, the like upgraded pieces for Quacks, are really expensive.
Yeah.
So we've not invested in that because we don't play it enough for me to justify it.
It would be worth it if we did play it a lot.
I agree.
Yeah. And again, they're the sort of standard cardboard token that most games come with.
We really do enjoy like acrylic tiles in games. So Kelp has these nice little thick acrylic tiles.
Very satisfying.
They are. And then Azul even. I mean, most people have played Azul. And so, like those the tiles that you're drafting to put into your board are just so nice.
It's really nice too. Like in Kelp, they have a nice weight to them.
Yes, they do.
So they feel more expensive.
They feel good, yeah.
Good. And so I love acrylic pieces. Again, that's part of that sort of upgraded component. Acrylic pieces feel like a next level sort of component thing from the standard like cardboard and wood.
There's some other pieces that we talked about too. One is Windmill Valley.
Oh, yeah.
It has like this gear action selection. So you turn this gear mechanism and it tells you which actions you can take. And then there are even upgraded pieces that fit into the gear and change what they are when you turn it. And that was so cool. I really liked it, both for action selection and just upgraded components. It just feels cooler, like you're doing something on your turn.
It gives you something to fiddle with and to mess with.
It's that tactile nature. I think,
and it's also cardboard, but it's a really nice cardboard. It's a high quality cardboard, so it was good.
Yeah, it's not going to tear up easily.
No.
And then another game that we thought of was After the Empire, which we haven't got to play in a long time, but I really enjoy After the Empire. But it's like these walls that you're literally building out in your area. And they start off with wood. So you purchase these wood pieces and then you build your wall and then you can upgrade your wood pieces to stone pieces.
Right.
And you're literally building a a toy pretty much in front of you that you're defending because it's kind of a tower defense.
Yeah.
A keep.
You're building your keep. Yeah. The stone pieces are made of plastic. And so it just feels really cool to have an actual walls that you're building up. That really works well for me as a D&D player because as a dungeon master, I love building out 3D maps. I've not gotten to do it very much, but I have, and I love it. And it feels like that. It feels like you're building your own little thing here, and so I really love it.
Yeah, and they use only those like just basic like little wooden cubes of colors, and those are your men, but they do fit right on top of those walls. So as you're placing them out there, they just like line up perfectly.
Yeah.
And so I really thought that was a good, nice touch for that game that they put that in there.
And then the next thing we'll talk about are minis. She wrote down actually on the paper, minis, yes or no. For me, always yes. I love minis. I love having a representation of my character that looks and feels real and not just a cube or a little generic meeple or something like.
I think that's why I'm in charge of the board game budget and you're not.
Yeah, 100%.
There are some great games that have really nice minis. We talked about Expeditions is really cool because they're these like mech minis that you're moving around the board. I really liked those.
Yeah, they're really good too. Like they're really high quality. They're really intricate and detailed and have a nice weight to them. They're really good.
And then just Gloomhaven. Gloomhaven. There's all these different characters that come in Gloomhaven, and their minis are really cool, I think. I really liked them.
Yeah, and you unlock them as you go. So it's like you don't know what the mini looks like until you unlock that character. It's really fun. Also, Marvel United has these cute little minis of the superheroes.
Yeah, they're kind of like cartoon versions of the Marvel characters.
Yeah, I love having minis. But there's another version of that, and they're called standees.
I actually don't mind standees at all. So I like them because they're just the cardboard and you put them in a little stand and you move those around. I like them because they're already, like the art is already there. You don't have to paint anything. Not that you have to paint minis, but they look so much better when you do.
Yeah.
So I enjoy that it's just already done and I don't care that much about minis. So I'm just fine with standees.
Standees are fine. They're fine. They're 2D when they get turned and I can't see the face of it really well. It bothers me versus a 3D mini where I can always see at least some aspect of it. So
I will say Gloomhaven does a good job with standees too because they do all of their characters in minis, but they did all the enemies in standees.
Yeah.
And I get that because if you
there's a ton.
There's so many, and if you bought them, it would be so much more expensive. And I don't know if it was part of the Kickstarter if they had all the enemies are minis as well. But we did not have that version. So
it would require another box.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. And there are games out there that do that. That are maybe their Kickstarter version of them does that, where it's like you have the box where the game is, and then you have another box where all the minis are.
Yeah, they come. Here's my box of just minis.
Yeah,
that's pretty extreme. I mean, for me, it is. And you might not think so.
I would love it, but I'm not. I'm not sure I'm willing to pay for that.
Right.
Yeah.
Which brings us to our point of cost. So anytime you have any kind of upgraded components, anytime companies are trying to make better components, the cost can sometimes get up there.
Yep.
So how do you balance that? Like, what do you look for in a game?
So I want at least there's a baseline quality that I prefer, that I want in a game. And that's just the standard quality, right? So the decent cardboard tokens, at least standees or meeples, like nice meeples or something. Like it doesn't have to be nice, but just a generic meeple. That's like my floor. Right? And so I really prefer upgraded components. It makes a big deal to me, but there also is a ceiling for that for me too, because I do know that cost plays a part. And the more of those types of games that we buy, the less games we get to buy overall. Right. So there's a cost analysis that has to happen there. I'm not going to advocate for us buying that extremely high cost Kickstarter game that has every component that's upgraded, right? But I do like games like Gloomhaven, like Kelp, You know, those ones that have nice components. They're not over the top, but they're nice.
Right.
And so that's kind of my sweet spot. That's where, for me, the cost, when games have that and it's not overly cost inhibiting, that's where I like to be.
I really like games that spend money on like theme and art. And so I think that part of that is the component quality.
Yeah.
And so I want it to look like the theme of the game. Sure. I want it to be part of the game. And I do agree that it does give more enjoyment in playing if it's more thematic or if it's cute. Like I loved the components of Flamecraft, and I didn't love the game.
Yeah.
But I played it multiple times because the components and the look of it and everything was so cute. Yes. Yeah. Now, I probably won't play it. It's not something we're going to do over and over, but it is something that we actually kept because we're like, at some point, it's a good intro to show people how cute games can be and like how to do worker placement and stuff like that. So we actually ended up keeping that game, even though we didn't love it,
right?
Because the components were so good.
Yeah, and the theme and the art was just really good.
Right.
Like they nailed theme, art, components, all of that. It's just the actual game part of it that's
a little boring.
A little boring. But for somebody new to the hobby,
right?
You know, it's not maybe so boring. You know, it's maybe a good game, or you know, or maybe for kids. You know, kids you're introducing into more intense games.
I agree. I guess cost definitely plays in for me because I'm the one that deals with our game budget, and so I try and make that balance of like, okay, well, we can buy one expensive game, or I can buy 4 games for the same price, and maybe they don't have all of the nice upgrades, and I'm okay with that.
And you usually try to balance that.
I do.
By every once in a while buying one of those expensive games that I really enjoy.
Right. So if you enjoyed watching this video, please like and subscribe.
Yeah, and tell us down below in the comments, what are your favorite components to play with, and what is your preference in component quality versus cost?
Thanks. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.